Greetings and welcome. The name of our piece tonight is Retrospect. While I don't consider myself to be terribly old, I am 52, and in some ways I can see through the lens of what some would call hindsight, or what I like to think of as retrospect. There are moments now that I find that if these moments had occurred, perhaps in my early 20s, or even my 30s, I would consider them to be unglamorous, if I considered them at all. And is it any wonder, in a world where the highly manipulated artifice of the facades that surround us have not just been created and foisted upon the public as culture, but indeed alongside of that has been a continuous package of unfolding Trojan horses that deliver tirelessly the mechanism through which we trade in what is actually real for that is the essence of what has been told to us that is real and has been modified to create a craving to communicate with artificial colors and preservatives. And so, as a thought hit me the other night when I was returning home on the long stretch of Sandpoint Way that goes on for a few miles, as I live at the very end of it, thus affording me plenty of time to have some last thoughts before coming home, I realized something that I'm sure many have already realized, which is that if indeed so much around us is not real, if nearly everything that has been constructed is just that, a construct, then it begs the question of just how long has this been going on? And then, of course, what was real, not just in the last 10 minutes, but in the entire existence of all of us, from our conception through this deception, and finally into the reception of the hallway to what is next. And while the small place where I live is filled with memorabilia, whether popular or not, small tokens and souvenirs, and minutiae that recounts the minutes that I have lived, to know that all of this only has any meaning because I have attached meaning to any of it is quite simply mind-boggling. And when we finally make our transition, and there is a remembrance, so to speak, of who we were, what we did, who we knew, what we liked, all put into the Vitamix to create that which we will be remembered by. These memorials that contain at times the memorabilia, just as I look around me, in a room that houses so much of it, nearly a crypt in itself, in a way. And those whom I thought would be sharing these moments with me, so many of them not here, whether through the dissolution of relationship, the geographical layers of highway and hills, terrains of desert and coast and plains, or by way of that which seems to bring us together through memory and the ultimate retrospect, which is death. I find the bittersweet and garish awakening and beauty in the startling realization that always seems to taste better in the fall, not on sunny days like now in the May of the year, which the road has turned from avoiding the small aches and pains of some of these remembrances and some of these people, and the avoidance of the wound now mostly healed and the bruise that is evaporated for fear of re-injury, becoming now the highway that is no longer the departure from any of these moments, but the actual arrival into what is next. And in this expectation, I find that there is a strong and resolute insistence that while it seems as though it's just plastic and glass and acetate and vinyl, whether shifted, discarded, or recreated, the true essence of everyone that I have loved, whom I no longer hear shut the door behind them, nor see their walking away from me, but rather the grace of a life ending for another to begin without the burden of dying. And in this insistence, what I find is an echo that was started so long ago, a sound that is now matched with image, creating a clearing for a higher remembrance, which is a reason for the husk that I will leave behind. And that is, you are all with me, and while I came here to taste this experience, there has never been a separation, only a curiosity to be placed in certain settings with certain DNA to experience that which is eternal through the stage of what has been set for now. This great relaxing into the arms of who I really am seems so simple and so free that any other story about its obstruction and obscuring is simply a fixation upon memorabilia rather than memory. We leave the planet and bring the memories of the experiences that we've had. But something I think I remembered this week was that there are memories that we bring to the planet and then we set about outfitting them. In this, we are reminded that the treasures to behold are not the supposed acquisitions that we are led to and lead ourselves to believing, so that we may justify some behaviors and actions that further obscure and obstruct our true essence and purpose, perhaps even so that we may, at some undeniable moment, come face to face with the unmysterious revelation of the phenomenon and miraculous anomaly that we truly are. And maybe now, in these later years, I am finally unalarmed at being unsurprised at how, though largely not understood cognitively, the synchronicity that drives on and on has never been absent nor self-hidden, but simply unconcerned for our attention to it or not. I've used the word relaxed, but you could say at peace, or perhaps someone would use a darker shade and call it pessimism. I might be labeled a realist, but I think ultimately it is a sort of homecoming for the love that we remember about ourselves as we gathered so many tokens to prove to ourselves what we for so long were unwilling to say. And as I see that so much wasn't real, what I also find is that not only is there not a need for explanation, but in fact there is no explanation. There is only that which is, and that whom I am. And all of the addictions and the rituals and the forced practices seem a little redundant and perhaps silly from this vantage point, as they themselves are not who we are, and not even what we are, but all that we became accustomed to and at times clung to, so that our boundarylessness could have some sort of tether to maybe a rest stop in this galaxy that we travel so often. And now, what has become quite apparent to me is not the taste that has been developed for the memorabilia, the ritual, and the artifice, and the disdain that we could definitely distract ourselves with, instead of knowing that the power of creation once again has prevailed through that which we have decided, intimated, and expressed as representations of our experience of what is real. And what a beautiful spiral to know again and again the memories that precede the creation of them through the unfiltered tone that we were so early matched with and have traveled through history in its resonance its echo and its call through the art form of our expression and all that resounds in the past, present, and future rings and cycles of our own unaltered and crescendoed retrospect.